Right behind Defense Minister Dong Jun, two new faces appeared, Zhang Shuguang and Wang Gang.
You can tell from the seating order who's about to be promoted to general.
In other words, they're already generals in waiting. They just haven't gone through the final promotion ceremony yet.
Right now there are 4 full generals. The Air Force has become the CMC's main force.
The so-called 7-member CMC, formed after the 20th Congress, has almost entirely fallen apart. Only Xi Jinping and Jiang Xiongming are left. Most of the 5 theatre commands, commanders and commissars have vanished or been removed.
The commanders who can actually lead troops are Han Xiangyan, Yang Jiubin and Wang Gang, all 3 Air Force. The Air Force was the system Hu Jintao invested heavily in during his years as CMC chairman.
Hello everyone, welcome to PinnacleView. I'm Shi Shan. After Jiaheng Youxia and Liu Zhenli were officially put under investigation, the Central Military Commission exists in name only. So who's actually holding on to China's military? Who's really in control of China's armed forces? That's the question everyone's asking. This July 1st, Beijing held all sorts of so-called party anniversary events with senior officials lined up in attendance, quite a few of them from the military, and there were plenty of telling signs in those events, especially among the military brass. You could just make out the new generals likely to be promoted soon, all showing up in public. From that, we can basically work out who's next in line for the Central Military Commission and where the Chinese military stands right now. Today's guests, veteran journalist Ms. Guo and independent filmmaker Li Juan. Okay, I can't get out of it. Let's talk about the black ginseng again. So, Pritime's been getting a lot of feedback from customers lately. Let me share one story. There's a Chinese-American friend of ours who flew all the way back to China because his elderly parents weren't doing so well, health-wise, and he wanted to be there by their side. So he went and bought this black ginseng, Pritime's Black Ginseng, the kind made using the traditional method, steamed and sun-dried 9 separate times, and gave it to his parents to help build them back up. And after a while, his parents' energy, strength, and day-to-day mobility all noticeably improved. Apparently, they're not just getting out normally now, they're regularly out walking, exercising. The family was thrilled to see them recover so well, so they wrote in to share their story. And then there's another friend of ours who'd gone through colon cancer surgery. Afterward, and you know how weak the body gets after something like that, this friend would get chills just from taking a shower. That's how bad it was. But after he stuck with taking Pritime's Black Ginseng for a while, he told us his cold stomach problem improved dramatically, and both his appetite and his overall energy got a lot better than before too. So a lot of friends who saw him said, hey, you don't look like someone who just had surgery. You've got great color. You don't look like you're recovering from a serious illness at all. We get feedback like this all the time, honestly. Once the body's vital energy is depleted, a truly top-grade black ginseng can really help restore it.
Deep restoration.
Right, deep restoration, and your whole state of mind changes completely. But right now, when you go to buy Pritime's Black Ginseng products, make sure you remember this at checkout. Enter our PinnacleView promo code, that's JYLT, which comes from the first letter of each word in our Chinese name. Do that, and you'll get free shipping anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, remember. Worldwide. And on top of that, there's another deal, a spend and get a gift offer. If you spend $500 on black ginseng products, they'll throw in a whole extra root of black ginseng for free. And if you spend $3,000, they'll throw in an extra grade root. That's a rare deal. I don't know if this extra grade root is a 100-year-old ginseng or...
Of course it's not. Not likely. At least 7 years old, though.
Well, right, because the ginseng Pritime uses is normally 6-year grown Korean ginseng, so I'd guess this one's at least 10 years, right? A bit bigger, right? So this one's pretty rare, I think. So if you need it, don't miss this exclusive deal. And once again, thank you all so much. Okay, let's get back to China. Ms. Guo, I want to start with you on this one. At this year's July 1st event, we saw a lot of military brass in attendance, right? I know the CCP is extremely particular about seating order at these events, and it's drawn a huge amount of attention. A lot of people are saying you can tell from the lineup and seating order exactly who's about to be promoted to full general. Is that right?
At this year's July 1st concert, if you watch closely, right behind Defense Minister Dong Jun, two new faces show up, Zhang Shuguang and Wang Gang. In CCP political culture, that's actually a pretty blunt signal, communicated exactly that way. Seating order at CCP events follows very strict internal rules. Who stands in front of whom, who follows whom. That reflects real political rank. Dong Jun is currently Defense Minister, a CMC member at Theatre Command rank. For Zhang Shuguang and Wang Gang to appear right behind him means they've effectively already been confirmed for promotion to that Theatre Command rank. In other words, they're already generals in waiting. They just haven't gone through the final promotion ceremony yet.
So Theatre Command rank basically means they're definitely going to be full generals, right? Because even though Dong Jun holds ministerial rank as defense minister, right?
He's defense minister, and he's actually at Theatre Command rank too, because he's inside the CMC's own apparatus now.
But he's not a state councillor.
His ranking is within the CMC, very high up in the central apparatus.
Right.
Take Zhang Shuguang first. He spent his whole career in the military discipline inspection system, an old subordinate of Zhang Shungmin from back when Zhang Shungmin headed the CMC Discipline Commission's Inspection Bureau.
Oh.
After that, he held posts as Discipline Chief for the Northern Theatre Command Air Force, and then Army Discipline Chief. So in this round of purges, half the Discipline Commission's members have already fallen. So is Zhang Shuguang part of that fallen half, or the half that's been rising as others fall? After the Army's last two political commissars, Qin Shutong and Chen Hui, were investigated one after another, Zhang Shuguang stepped in as the Army's discipline chief and took over running the Army's political work. So this promotion to Theatre Command rank, moving him into the CMC apparatus. The word is that following procedure, he's set to take over from Zhang Shongmin as the CMC's discipline chief. Now, Wang Gang, he came up as a special grade pilot, commanded the Air Force's crack unit, Air Division 1. After the 18th Party Congress, he moved from that division to Air Force headquarters, running the training department, and worked his way up to Air Force Chief of Staff. And note this, the timing here matters. He became Air Force Deputy Commander at the end of last year.
Right.
He's the one actually running things day to day, and you need to pay attention to that timing. End of last year, that's exactly when Zhang Youxia teamed up with Hu Jintao to seize control of the military after Xi Jinping's stroke in June 2024. Anyone promoted at that moment was someone Zhang Youxia or Hu Jintao trusted.
At least someone they approved of.
Right. At that point, with Miao Hua and the others already out, Wang Gang has now formally taken over as Air Force Commander.
But it hasn't been announced, it seems. But you can actually tell from where he's placed in the lineup, it basically follows a set order. CMC headquarters staff first, then Theatre Command officials, and then the individual services ranked in that sequence. Because
before this, he was already acting Air Force Commander, which makes him the first person among the four services to get formally named Commander after this whole purge. Promotion to full general in the Chinese military has its own process. You first need to season for a while at Theatre Command rank, and the formal promotion ceremony usually happens around Army Day, August 1st, or ahead of a major meeting. So Zhang Shuguang and Wang Gang showing up like this basically tips their hand early. At a moment like this, on a big symbolic day, having these key military appointments come into view, it tells you who in Zhongnanhai is actually controlling the military.
So right now, we all know there are 4 full generals out there currently, right? 4 generals, that is...
No, wait, it's 4, not 6.
4 generals. Zhang Shangmin, Dong Jun, and Yang Junribin. Yang Zhobin, and then Han Shangyan. Han Shangyan, those 4. The rest of them, we basically don't see anymore, right? Everybody basically knows the rest have all been taken down. So if 2 more get promoted around August 1st, that makes 6 full generals. And it's pretty obvious then the future Central Military Commission is just going to be those 6, right? That's the idea.
Exactly, sitting there in a row. Right now, active duty full generals in the whole PLA are down to just 4. That's never happened before in the whole history of communist rule. This thinner bench.
Right.
The CMC used to be packed with full generals. Now count them however you like, it's just 4. This isn't a purge anymore. It's a total wipeout.
Wiped clean this time, exactly.
First, Defense Minister Dong Jun. He came up through the Navy, was South Sea Fleet Commander before, and took over as Defense Minister after Li Shangfu got taken down. His job is a special one. It's an outward-facing role, dealing with the US military and foreign militaries. But inside the CMC itself, he doesn't carry much real say. Especially since he's part of Xi Jinping's own camp, promoted when Miao Hua ran the political work department, right after Miao Hua purged the rocket force. Then once Zhang Youxia teamed up with Hu Jintao to grab military power after Xi Jinping's stroke, Dong Jun basically got sidelined.
Right. He's never actually made it into the CMC itself, has he?
He hasn't, and he's the weakest defense minister we've had. They don't even let him attend the really important military events. Right now, he's basically a figurehead.
Actually, there's this thing about Dong Jun. What do you call it? There's controversy. Internally, there's controversy about him. I know that.
He's mainly been propped up by Miao Hua.
Right, Miao Hua.
So once Miao Hua fell, he really had no one backing him anymore. Second is Jiang Shengmin. Right now, the only CMC vice chairman, someone who's come up entirely through the discipline inspection system. After Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhenli were officially announced under investigation this past January, Jiang Shengmin got moved straight up from CMC discipline chief to CMC vice chairman, while still holding on to the discipline chief job too. So the entire CMC right now is basically just Chairman Xi Jinping and Vice Chairman Jiang Shengmin holding it up.
Right, a bare bones outfit.
Right. Third and fourth are Han Xiongyan and Yang Zhebin, both promoted to full general at the same time this past December.
Last December.
That's also the time Xi Jinping looked visibly displeased. Zhang Youxia basically forced his hand and put both of them on equal footing, and soon after that came the charge that Zhang Youxia had seriously trampled on the chairman response system.
Exactly.
So he's Air Force too. Both of them are. Han Xiongyan is now Central Theatre Command Commander, and Yang Zhebin is Eastern Theatre Command Commander. The Eastern Theatre Command faces Taiwan directly at a very sensitive post. Both of them are generals Zhang Youxia promoted after seizing military power. So both are Zhang Youxia's and Hu Jintao's people. So put these 4 together with Zhang Shuguang and Wang Gang, who are about to join them, and among the 6. Dong Jun handles diplomacy and keeps up appearances. Jiang Shengmin runs discipline and party affairs. Zhang Shuguang will most likely take over the discipline chief job, and the remaining 3, Han Xiongyan, Yang Zhebin, Wang Gang, the ones who actually command troops, are all Air Force across the board.
Actually, it looks like Jiang Shengmin is stepping into Zhang Youxia's old role, running the CMC's day-to-day work. Since he's vice chairman now, that's the job he'd take over.
The discipline side, that is.
So that's, well, 3 of them doing political type work. 2 doing political work, Jiang Shengmin taking over the CMC discipline chief job, and Dong Jun possibly moving into political work department duties. That's possible.
Right. This lineup is basically the outline of the future CMC. But there's still one missing. The CMC still needs someone to head the political work department. And it needs another vice chairman to handle day-to-day military affairs.
Right.
That's the role Zhang Youxia used to hold. Both of those seats are empty right now, which tells you the whole military personnel rebuild is nowhere near finished.
So do you think these people belong to Hu or to Xi Jinping? If they're already showing up in these seats, we can figure that within a month or 2, these people will get formally promoted, right? So are these people Xi Jinping's people? What do you think?
Neither of these 2 generals-to-be has the kind of relationship with Xi Jinping where he personally promoted them up as trusted insiders. They actually belong to different power bases, with different backers. Take Jiang Shuguang first. His whole career has followed Jiang Shengmin's line.
Oh.
Back when Jiang Shengmin headed the CMC Discipline Commission's Inspection Bureau, Jiang Shuguang worked under him. Jiang Shuguang went on to serve as discipline chief for the Northern Theatre Air Force, then the Army. His whole career has been inside the discipline inspection system.
Discipline.
Right, the discipline system.
Within that discipline system.
Round and round in that system, right? Now, Jiang Shengmin himself was appointed vice chairman by Xi Jinping, but his power base runs on the discipline system's own independent network. He's not part of Xi Jinping's inner circle from Zhejiang or Fujian. Jiang Shuguang is someone Jiang Shengmin personally brought up. In lineage terms, he's Jiang Shengmin's man, with no direct mentorship tied to Xi Jinping. Now Wang Gang, this one's even more interesting. Wang Gang is Air Force, and his whole career took off during the decade plus when Xu Qiliang ran the Air Force, and later the military's political personnel side. From commander of Air Division 1 all the way up to acting Air Force Chief of Staff and Commander, his whole path grew up entirely inside Xu Qiliang's sphere of influence. Xu Qiliang, in fact, was a key figure personally promoted by Hu Jintao, a farmer's son from Linyi, Shandong, spotted early by Hu, who broke protocol to jump him 2 ranks. He went on to become the CMC's first vice chairman, Hu's single most important power base inside the military. Before Hu retired, he made a point of leaving Xu Qiliang in place, specifically instructing him to help Xi Jinping.
Oh.
In effect, he was handing his own network over to Xi Jinping. But then things changed. Xu Qiliang grew close to Xi Jinping's wife, Peng Liyuan, and the two of them are also both from Shandong. Some accounts say Xu Qiliang was won over through that connection with Peng Liyuan, gradually shifting all the way from Hu Jintao's camp over to Xi Jinping's, and he even helped Xi Jinping push through military reform, drifting further and further from Hu along the way. That was the most critical turning point in Xu Qiliang's political career. But then the story flipped again. Xi Jinping had a stroke in June 2024 during the third plenum and temporarily lost his grip on the military. Hu Jintao and Zhang Youshaya teamed up to come back and retake control and started purging the people Xi Jinping had planted and cultivated inside the military. Because Xu Qiliang had shifted to Xi Jinping's side and turned his back on Hu, his position became extremely awkward at that point. Word from inside is that Xu Qiliang, caught between shame and pressure from all sides, took his own life. He wasn't...
But Xu Qiliang had already retired by then, if I remember right. He wasn't in office anymore. He'd already stepped down. But either way, a lot of threads in the military probably still trace back to him.
The military runs on factions, and the people he placed, old superiors, still matter a lot, right? Old leaders and old superiors still carry weight. So back to Wang Gang. He's an old Air Force protege Xu Qiliang personally groomed, but by his later years, Xu belonged to Xi Jinping, not Hu. So whose man does that make Wang Gang? That's the question. Here's the thing to get clear. Wang Gang originally was one of Xu Qiliang's own aides. Wang Gang's real political lineage is rooted in the Air Force power base Xu Qiliang built up over that decade plus, before he ever shifted allegiance. That power base was originally political capital Hu Jintao left behind. Xu Qiliang just personally carried it over when he defected to Xi Jinping. But it still belongs to that same system. So once Xu Qiliang died, it only makes sense that this whole network fell back in line with Hu Jintao. So it's pretty clear, of these two generals in waiting, one belongs to Jiang Shengmin, and the other comes out of Hu Jintao's old Air Force network. Neither one is truly one of Xi Jinping's own people brought up from Fujian or Zhejiang.
Let's dig into this. Let's break it down. Because when Xi Jinping first came to power, the army and the rocket force were his top priorities. Then for a while, once Miao Hua moved into the navy got a lot of attention too, building ships like dumplings practically. But now, as everyone can see in this big purge, it's the rocket force, the army and the navy that have taken the biggest hits, while the air force, which never really boomed in those years, has been spared. That's because the air force is too full of people who aren't Xi Jinping's own. Remember, it's the service Hu Jintao invested the most in during his time, and a lot of its people are ones Hu promoted. Here's another important reason. Liao Yazhou used to be Air Force Political Commissar before moving to be Political Commissar of National Defense University, so a lot of Air Force people are actually part of Liao Yazhou's network too. Pretty interesting. But now, it looks like we can all see it in the Central Military Commission. Aside from Xi Jinping himself, 3 of the future 6 members are Air Force. And every actual military commander among them is Air Force. All of them. Not a single army commander. That's pretty striking. This is going to get really interesting. The Air Force is clearly going to be a major force in the Chinese military going forward. Though honestly, there's something pretty funny about all this too. So let's move on. Just a few days ago, on June 26th, there was that small plane that crashed into a building, and CCP officials clarified just yesterday that the pilot, surnamed Liu, not Liu Junhua, this Liu in his 60s, male, that it wasn't the CITIC one, that particular case. Of course, we don't really know either way, but never mind that. It's not the important part. What's the important part? What everyone's worried about now is whether this triggers a sweeping investigation into the Air Force. Because all of China's airspace control, including civil aviation, is run by the Air Force. So that's a real possibility. Something similar happened in the Soviet Union once. And here's the funny thing about the CCP lately. Whenever someone's rumored to be getting promoted, all kinds of incidents suddenly pop up. So now the Air Force is on the rise, and this happens, people are bound to draw that connection. Take Hubei's, what's his name? Wang Zhonglin.
Wang Zhonglin.
Wang Zhonglin. He was supposedly in line for the Ministry of Public Security, and now word is a wave of signed complaints have landed at the Discipline Commission.
So he's under investigation now.
They're really digging into these people.
He's apparently taken some deputy post at the MPC anyway.
Right. Once you move over to the MPC, that's usually it. You're not going anywhere else after that.
Right, he's under investigation.
Right. So there's something fishy about this whole Beijing incident, isn't there, Li Juan?
Right. On July 2nd, the Chaoyang district government put out its second bulletin confirming the aircraft was a single-engine, two-seat light aircraft, and the registration matched what we'd already reported, B-something 12PP.
Now, in Xi Jinping's speech this time, what's the outside world paying the most attention to? That four stages theory. And of course, there's Xi Jinping's language on Taiwan. He really emphasized taking Taiwan back, saying we need to dare to struggle and be good at struggling, right? Given that kind of language, Li Juan, connecting this to the military, do you think his stance on Taiwan in this speech is more aggressive than before? Or has he actually backed off from where he was? What's your read on it?
In this speech, the Taiwan section wasn't long, but there are a few key phrases in it that are really worth paying attention to. He reiterated that resolving the Taiwan question, achieving full national reunification, is the party's unwavering historic mission, one that has to be completed. And what did he call for? He called for thoroughly implementing the party's overall approach to the Taiwan question for the new era.
There's something I want to ask Ms. Gore about. What's your take on this? Because we're seeing the Air Force become the CMC's main force now, right? Everyone's looking at this through the lens of internal power struggles, but could it also connect to the CCP's Taiwan strategy? Because the CCP is putting so much weight on the Air Force now, is the idea that down the road, instead of an amphibious landing on Taiwan, they'd go with the Air Force instead? Could that be a factor? Because air power is becoming more important everywhere in the world right now.
Right, there's definitely a Taiwan angle in this, and it's not a small one either. The CCP no longer leans on communist ideals to justify its rule. It leans on hardline nationalism as its governing creed now, and that's what channels Chinese people's emotions together. And the Taiwan question, especially never letting Taiwan move toward independence, is a core issue tied to whether the CCP's rule can keep standing at all. So against that backdrop, the Air Force's standing naturally rises with the tide. Looking at the future CMC lineup, every single combat commander who actually leads troops is Air Force now, without exception. Zhang Shongmin and Zhang Shuguang are political work cadres. Their whole careers have been discipline inspection and political work. Dong Jun holds the defense minister title, but he came up as a Navy staff officer. He's never even commanded a ship, never had real frontline command experience. He's spent his whole career doing desk work inside the bureaucracy.
Right? There.
And the ones who actually have combat command experience, who can lead troops into battle, Han Shangyan, Yang Zhebin, Wang Gang, all three, everyone, Air Force. That's just the structural reality now.
Right.
And the Air Force's growing weight checks out on the international stage too. So here's the key thing to grasp. The Air Force isn't Xi Jinping's own home turf. Xi Jinping's real roots are the 31st Army, which is Army, and Miao Hua came up through the Navy.
Right.
The Air Force's roots trace back to cadres who came out of the 4th Field Army.
Right.
It only really started getting built up after 2002, and its influence actually took off precisely during Hu Jintao's years running the CMC.
Right.
Back then, Air Force Political Commissar Liu Yazhou actually had a strained, even adversarial relationship with Xi Jinping. He was never given real power, and Xi Jinping eventually had him arrested.
Right.
The whole Air Force system was built up with heavy investment during Hu Jintao's years as CMC chairman. The political capital Hu left behind inside the Air Force runs very deep. So the Air Force being able to substantively take hold of the CMC and the whole military this time, the bigger driver behind that is really the power struggle itself.
Oh, okay.
Hu Jintao is the only living former party leader the CCP has right now. So the moment Xi Jinping's power stumbles, in terms of legitimacy and protocol, all sorts of factions naturally gravitate toward Hu's name and standing. That's really the underlying logic behind the Air Force dominating the Chinese military's landscape right now. That said, the Chinese military is full of competing factions. It's very complicated, and no single system can just sweep the board easily. The Air Force can handle the Taiwan Strait Front, and it can lead the charge in internal political fights right now. But in terms of raw strength, the backbone of China's military is still the army.
Still the old army.
Still the old army. Especially since the conservative factions' resources and connections are all rooted in the army system. So internally, the CMC still has to lean on the army. That's a pattern baked into the PLA's whole historical structure, and nobody can get around it.
Because put simply, you can't stage a coup with the Air Force or the Rocket Force. You need the army for that, right?
Right.
And if it comes down to fighting an external war, then sure, the Rocket Force, Air Force and Navy all matter a lot.
Information warfare too.
But why do CCP military leaders always place special weight on the army? Because the army is what actually decides who holds the gun barrel. You can control the rockets all you want. It won't help you there. So here's the thing. I think the most dangerous moment for any military isn't necessarily when an enemy's at the gates. It's when the top command loses its own order. Right now, the CMC has huge vacancies. The general ranks, like you said, have basically been wiped clean, and new people haven't fully come in yet. Every faction inside the military is realigning. Everyone's looking for a patron. Everyone's watching and waiting. And a lot of officers, even senior ones, are just lying flat, staying passive. So the Air Force suddenly becoming the new power center, I think that says something, and it's probably tied both to future military deployments and to future political arrangements. Things like this could still swing in a very different direction. Can the Air Force actually keep the Army and the other services in line? Honestly, that's still a big open question. Beijing might look calm and prosperous on the surface, but inside the military, I think it's likely going through the most intense internal power reshuffle since the Communist Party took power. What kind of outcome could that lead to? My guess is within the next 2 years we'll see it. If the military falls into disorder, it'll look completely different from chaos playing out at the local level. That's why we brought up that small plane earlier. A small plane is an Air Force matter. The whole air defense system is run by the Air Force. So if this starts to unravel, there'll be signs, and this is one of them. That's how I see it. So, overall, when this power struggle inside the CCP plays out specifically within the military, the consequences it produces are going to be far more serious and honestly far bigger in scale than the fallout you'd see anywhere else in the system. And we'll certainly keep watching this closely for you. Thanks so much to both of our guests today, and thank you all for watching. See you next time.